I found out my wedding was fake. None of it was legal. The officiant stopped mid-sentence and looked at my husband. I'm sorry, she said. I can't continue. Everyone laughed. They thought it was part of the ceremony. My husband didn't. His face went white. What do you mean? He asked. She flipped through her folder again. There's no marriage license, she said. This wedding isn't valid. The music cut off. 200 people went silent. I turned to my husband. What is she talking about? He didn't answer. My mother stood up. What do you mean, no license? She demanded. The officiant hesitated, then said it. The paperwork submitted was forged. I felt like I couldn't breathe. My husband finally spoke. I was going to tell you. The room exploded. People yelling, phones out. Someone laughing nervously. I grabbed his arm. Tell me what? He swallowed. That this was just symbolic. I stared at him. You told me we were married. He nodded. Eventually, he said. Just not today. I screamed. You faked our wedding? He tried to calm me down. It was easier this way. Easier. That's when his sister stood up. You weren't supposed to find out like this, she said. I turned to her. You knew? She winced. Everyone did. The room went dead quiet. What do you mean, everyone? My best friend wouldn't look at me. My maid of honor started crying. My father stood up slowly. Why, he asked. Would my daughter not be legally married at her own wedding? My husband answered him. Because of the trust fund. My ears rang. What trust fund? I asked. He took a deep breath. Yours. That's when my mother screamed. You what? He explained it like it was nothing. If I got legally married before turning 30, the money would be locked. If I thought I was married, I wouldn't rush. He planned to fix it later. I laughed. Not because it was funny, because I was losing my mind. How long were you going to lie? I asked. He hesitated. Until the money cleared. That's when I realized something worse. I wasn't the only one being lied to. I looked at my mother. Did you know? She went pale. My heart dropped. You knew, I whispered. She nodded. It was supposed to protect you. I turned to the crowd. How many of you knew my wedding was fake? Hands didn't go up, but faces told the truth. Then a woman I didn't recognize stood up in the back, holding a baby. I should probably leave, she said. Everyone turned. My husband froze. She smiled sadly at me. He told me you already knew. I stared at her. Knew what? She adjusted the baby on her hip. That I'm his real wife. The room didn't just go quiet. It collapsed. 200 people stared at the woman holding the baby like she'd walked out of a nightmare. My husband, not husband, I reminded myself, looked like someone had ripped the ground out from under him. What are you doing here? He whispered. She tilted her head. You said I could come, she replied calmly. You said this was the day you'd finally tell her. My knees went weak. Tell me what? I stepped forward before anyone could stop me. Who are you? I asked. She looked at me with something close to pity. My name is Lila, she said. I'm married to him. Someone gasped. My mother made a strangled sound. That's not possible, I said. We just had a fake wedding? She finished. Yeah, I know. My head snapped toward my mother. You knew about this too? She couldn't look at me. That was answer enough. I turned back to him. You told me you'd never been married, I said slowly. He opened his mouth. Lila beat him to it. We got married 3 years ago, she said. Quiet courthouse thing. No family, no friends. She bounced the baby slightly. He said he didn't want complications. The officiant quietly packed up her things and walked away. People started whispering. Phones were up. Someone was live streaming. I heard someone say, "Is this real?" I wanted to throw up. You said this baby was your niece, I said to him. Lila nodded. He told me the same thing about you, she said. That you were a coworker who wouldn't leave him alone. I laughed. It came out wrong, broken. How long? I asked her. She hesitated. Since before you met, she said. He said you were a cover? The room spun. A cover for what? She looked at my mother. For the trust fund. My mother stood up. Enough, she snapped. This is private family business. Lila's eyes flashed. Oh no, she said. You don't get to shut this down. You promised me security. My mother stiffened. What did you promise her? I demanded. Silence. Then Lila reached into her bag and pulled out a folder. She handed it to me. Inside were copies of emails. From my mother. Talking about my trust fund. Talking about me. One line was highlighted. As long as she believes she's married, she won't touch the money early. My hands started shaking. She's my daughter, my mother said defensively. I was protecting her. By lying to me? I screamed. You're impulsive. She yelled back. You would have ruined everything. Lila laughed bitterly. You told me once the money cleared, he'd divorce me and marry her for real. I looked at him. He didn't deny it. I felt something inside me snap. So let me get this straight, I said slowly. You married her, had a child, then staged a fake wedding with me. So my mother could keep control of my money? He nodded once. It wasn't supposed to blow up like this. I slapped him hard. The sound echoed. The baby started crying. Lila stepped back protectively. That was supposed to be my life, she whispered. You were never supposed to be real. I stared at her. And you were? She nodded. Yes. That's when my father finally spoke. I funded this wedding, he said quietly. Every dollar. My mother turned pale. You what? I paid for it, he repeated. For my daughter. He looked at my fake husband. And I want every cent back. My mother grabbed his arm. Don't do this here. He shook her off. You used our child as a pawn. That's when the police arrived. 2 officers stepped into the hall. Someone had called them. They asked what was going on. Lila raised her hand. I'd like to report fraud, she said. And bigamy. My heart dropped. Bigamy. The officers turned to him. Sir, one said, are you legally married to more than one person? He hesitated. That hesitation was enough. They put him in handcuffs. The room exploded again. My mother screamed. My father sat down heavily. Lila watched him get dragged away. Then she turned to me. I'm sorry, she said softly. I didn't know about you until last month. I believed her. Because no one could fake that look on her face. As they let him out, he looked back at me. Please, he said. You know I love you. I laughed again. This time it was ugly. You don't even know who you love, I said. The doors closed behind him. The wedding was officially over. But my nightmare wasn't. Because my phone buzzed. A notification from my bank. Trust fund account activity detected. Someone had tried to move the money. And the name on the authorization? My mother's. I didn't go home after the wedding. There was no home to go back to. The venue was still buzzing with whispers, phones, and side eyes as I walked out alone. No husband. No family walking beside me, no answers. Just humiliation trailing behind me like smoke. Lila followed me to the parking lot. I don't have anywhere to go, she said quietly. I looked at her. The woman my fake husband actually married. The mother of his child. The woman my own mother had worked with behind my back. I should have hated her, but I didn't. Get in, I said. That night, we sat in my car in a grocery store parking lot, staring at our phones like ticking bombs. That's when the emails started coming in. From lawyers. From banks. From people I didn't recognize. And then one message made my blood turn cold. Subject, emergency guardianship filing. I opened it. It was from my mother's attorney. She had filed paperwork claiming I was emotionally unstable, financially reckless, and unable to manage large assets responsibly. She was trying to take control of my trust fund permanently. Using tonight as evidence. Using the wedding. Using me. She's trying to erase you, Lila said softly after reading it. I started laughing. Not because it was funny. Because it was evil. She planned this, I whispered. All of it. The fake wedding. The delay. The humiliation. If I broke publicly, she could call it proof. If I reacted emotionally, she'd call it instability. If I fought back, she'd say I was spiraling. I slammed my phone down. She thinks I'm still her little chess piece. Lila looked at me. She underestimated one thing. What? You didn't know, she said. Now you do. The next morning, my face was everywhere. Not my name, my wedding. Clips titled, Bride finds out groom is already married. Fake wedding exposed mid-ceremony. Trust fund scandal erupts. My mother called me 17 times. I didn't answer. Instead, I called my grandfather, the man who created the trust fund, the man my mother feared more than anyone. When he picked up, I said one sentence. They used my life to steal your money. There was a long pause. Then he said very calmly, send me everything. 2 days later, I was served papers. Not from my mother. From my fake husband. From jail. He was suing me. For defamation. Claiming I ruined his reputation. Claiming the wedding footage misrepresented the truth. I stared at the paperwork in disbelief. He's insane, Lila said. No, I replied. He's desperate. That's when my new lawyer called me. You need to sit down, she said. I already was. Your mother submitted affidavits from 3 people, she continued, claiming you've had emotional outbursts, impulsive spending habits, and an unstable attachment history. My stomach dropped. Who? She hesitated. Your best friend. Your aunt. And your ex. I went numb. My best friend? The woman who helped me plan the wedding? The woman who cried while zipping my dress? She testified I wasn't in the right mental state to make decisions, my lawyer said. I felt sick. She said she was worried about you for years. That's when I realized something terrifying. This wasn't just a betrayal. This was a network. My mother didn't act alone. She recruited people. She groomed them. She made sure that if I ever tried to stand up for myself, no one would believe me. That night, Lila and I sat on the floor of my empty apartment. She fed her baby while I stared at the wall. I think she planned for him to get caught, Lila said suddenly. I looked at her. What? He was sloppy, she continued. Too sloppy. She needed him removed once the money was secured. The pieces slammed together. He was disposable. I wasn't. I was the asset. And now she was trying to lock me away from my own life. My phone buzzed again. A text from my mother. I'm doing this for your own good. You'll understand later. That was it. That was the moment I stopped being afraid. Because she wasn't trying to fix this. She was trying to win. I typed back one sentence. You taught me how to survive you. Now watch me use it. Then I blocked her. The next morning, my grandfather called. They've been siphoning funds for years, he said. My heart stopped. Who? Your mother, he replied. And your husband. I closed my eyes. How much? He exhaled. Enough that people are going to prison. The hearing wasn't supposed to be public. My mother had pushed hard for a closed session to protect my privacy, she said. Funny how privacy only mattered when it protected her. But my grandfather's attorney stepped in at the last second and filed an objection. There are financial crimes alleged, he said calmly. The public has a right to observe. The judge agreed. By the time I walked into the courthouse, reporters were already lining the steps. Cameras flashed. Someone yelled, "Are you really being declared incompetent?" I didn't answer. I didn't need to. My mother was already there. Perfect hair, cream blazer. Soft, worried expression, like she'd rehearsed it in the mirror. When she saw me, she reached out. Honey. I walked straight past her. She flinched. That was new. Inside the courtroom, the air felt tight. Heavy. Like everyone knew something was about to snap. My mother's attorney stood first. He spoke slowly, gently, like he was addressing a child. My client is deeply concerned for her daughter's mental health, he said. Recent public behavior suggests emotional instability and impaired judgment. He gestured toward a screen. Wedding footage began to play. My humiliation. My shock. My voice breaking. People in the gallery murmured. I felt my hands shaking. Then my attorney stood. And everything changed. Your Honor, she said, before we discuss my client's emotional response to discovering her entire life was a fraud, we'd like to address the fraud itself. She clicked her remote. Bank records appeared. Large transfers. Shell accounts. Dates spanning years. These funds were taken from the Morrison Trust without authorization, she continued. Transferred into accounts controlled by the petitioner and her son-in-law. My mother's smile froze. Her attorney stammered. Those funds were discretionary. My grandfather stood up. He didn't need permission. The trust was created to protect my granddaughter, he said, his voice steady but sharp. Not to bankroll criminals. Gasps filled the room. My mother turned to him, panicked. Dad, please. He didn't look at her. Then the judge called the first witness. My best friend. She walked up confidently at first. Even waved at me. I didn't wave back. She swore in and took her seat. My mother's attorney smiled. Can you describe your concerns about the respondent's mental state? Yes, my friend said smoothly. She's always been impulsive, emotional. She latches onto people too fast. I stared at her. She spends recklessly, my friend continued. She doesn't listen to advice. I've worried for years. My attorney stood. Isn't it true, she asked quietly, that you received monthly payments from the petitioner? My friend blinked. What? Direct deposits, my attorney said, pulling up statements. Labeled consulting fees. The courtroom went dead silent. My friend's face drained of color. I don't know what you're talking about. My attorney zoomed in. Amounts. Dates. Her name. You were paid to monitor my client, she said. To report her behavior. To influence her decisions. My friend started crying. She said it was to help you, she sobbed, looking at me. She said you were fragile. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just said, you watched me get married. She couldn't look at me. Next witness. My ex. He tried to act confident. Tried. Until my attorney asked him why he'd signed an affidavit claiming I was unstable. 3 days after receiving a wire transfer. From my mother. He cracked. She told me it was temporary, he said. She said she'd take care of everything. The judge rubbed his temples. Then came the moment that shattered everything. The bailiff opened the side door. And my fake husband walked in. In cuffs. The entire room erupted. He'd taken a plea deal. And he was ready to talk. He pointed at my mother. She planned it, he said flatly. The wedding. The delay. The guardianship. My mother stood up screaming. You liar! He didn't flinch. She told me once the trust was secured, I was expendable, he continued. She said I could disappear or go to jail. Didn't matter as long as you were controlled. The judge slammed the gavel. My mother collapsed into her chair. For the first time in my life, she looked small. The judge dismissed the guardianship petition immediately, referred the financial evidence to federal prosecutors, and issued an emergency injunction freezing every account tied to my mother's name. As we walked out, reporters surged forward. Someone shouted, "Do you forgive your mother?" I turned, looked straight into the camera, and said, "She taught me betrayal doesn't need forgiveness. It needs consequences." That clip went viral in under an hour. The arrest didn't happen the way people expected. There were no flashing lights outside her house. No dramatic takedown on the courthouse steps. It happened quietly. Cruelly? On a day she thought she was untouchable. My grandfather died 3 weeks after the hearing. Stressed, the doctor said. I didn't believe that. I believed betrayal finally caught up to him. The funeral was private. Family only. My mother wore black like she was auditioning for forgiveness. She cried loudly. Too loudly. People patted her back. Told her she was strong. I stood across the room, unmoving. Lila stood beside me, baby asleep against her chest. She hadn't left my side since the hearing. Halfway through the service, the doors opened. 2 men in suits stepped in. Not police uniforms. Federal. They didn't interrupt the service. They waited. Let my mother cry. Let her perform grief. Then, as the final prayer ended, they approached her. She smiled at first, until she saw the badges. Margaret Morrison, one said calmly, "You're under arrest for financial fraud, conspiracy and obstruction of justice." The room froze. Someone screamed. My mother turned slowly. Her eyes found mine. For the first time, there was no calculation there. Only fear. "This is a mistake," she whispered. I didn't move. They cuffed her. Right there. At her father's funeral. As they let her out, she said my name. Begging. I didn't answer. 2 days later, my aunt called me. Crying. I didn't know how bad it was, she said. Please, I'll testify. She wasn't the only one. Everyone started flipping. My mother's assistant. Her financial advisor. Even the lawyer who helped draft the fake guardianship papers. Deals were made. Stories spilled. And one truth stood out. My mother had been planning this since I was 19. She never intended to let me control my life. Or my money. Then came the final hearing. The one about the trust fund. The clause my mother never told me about. My grandfather's attorney read it aloud. If the primary guardian is found to have exploited the beneficiary, he said, control of the trust transfers immediately to the beneficiary, regardless of age or marital status. The courtroom went silent. I stared at the document. All this time. She never needed to protect me. She needed to control me. The judge signed the order. The trust was mine. All of it. That day. My fake husband was sentenced to 7 years. Lila got full custody. She moved away. We still talk. Sometimes trauma bonds don't break cleanly. As for my mother, she pleaded guilty. Avoided trial. Avoided me. Her final message came from a prison email account. I did everything for you. I deleted it. On the anniversary of the wedding that wasn't, I stood in front of a mirror. No ring. No lies. Just quiet. People ask if I miss my old life. I don't. Because that wasn't a life. It was a cage. And I didn't escape it. I burned it down.